Hello everyone. My name's Stojcevski. I'm the partnership manager for Sharesight Pro, which is our enterprise product. So at Sharesight, we have two products: Sharesight, which is our core product for self-directed and DIY investors, and then Sharesight Pro, which is our non-custodial solution built for financial advisors that are looking to go off platform or move away from the platforms. In terms of Sharesight ourselves, we started approximately 14 years ago in Wellington, New Zealand, by a father and son. So the way they sort of started the business, the father had his own personal investments, didn't have anywhere to track it. He sort of had an Excel spreadsheet that his sons built for him. And then they sort of came up with the idea of turning it into a software. They sort of used it in New Zealand, I guess, for a number of years. And then a couple of more recent, I guess, I wouldn't say co-founders, but refounders came into the business, sort of got involved, and then sort of brought it across to Australia and have taken it across the globe. So it is a software business, so software as a service. At the moment, we've got approximately 350,000 users of our software, and I'll talk about that throughout this presentation. And it's predominantly used to track investments, so stocks, managed funds. We support over 40 global exchanges. We support cryptocurrency, which I'll sort of touch on throughout this presentation as well, and various different ways in which you can sort of manage currencies. But the core functionality of what we do is tracking investment portfolios, tax reporting, and then amalgamating investment data as well. So before I do that, I'll talk a little bit about some of the trends that we're noticing that are impacting financial advisors, some of our data insights, some of the latest developments in the industry, such as technology changes, and then at the end, a little bit about our product and what makes us different. And then, of course, I'll take any questions. So I'll move on to the next slide. Just to let you know that the webinar will be recorded and is currently being recorded. The recording will be sent in a follow-up email to everyone who registered with the special offer that's exclusive to Lifespan, which I'll talk about later on as well. Please just keep your mics on mute throughout the presentation. But I do encourage you, if I'm saying something, I like to make these as engaging as possible. So when I'm presenting, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, even feel free to take yourself off mute and make a contribution. You can post any questions in the chat function as part of this presentation, and I'll look at them at the end and answer as many as I can. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, I'll dive right into it. And yeah, very relaxed today. Just talking about factual information, and taking any questions at the end. And just a disclaimer before I proceed. So Sharesight does not hold an AFSL. We're not a financial product. We're purely a software business. I'm not licensed to give advice. I appreciate most of you guys are, but just have to sort of give this disclaimer before I go ahead. But if there's any questions about that as well, happy to take those at the end. So moving on, so in terms of the financial advice industry, as many of you know, there's sort of a lot of changes taking place, and I'll sort of briefly talk about these. The biggest one sort of being industry regulation and compliance obligations, and I'll talk about how Sharesight addresses some of those. The generational shift of wealth, so 1.5 million millennials currently control more than 2.2 trillion in household wealth. And in terms of themselves, I appreciate probably most of the clients that you guys have it towards the latter aspect of their life in terms of like retirement planning. But we'll talk a little bit about millennials and what their sort of needs are and what they're interested in when it comes to financial advice. The Royal Banking Commission, which I won't make any comments about, but obviously that sort of impacted the financial advice industry. The emergence of technologies, including robo-advisors, crypto, ETFs, and Web 3.0. And some of the pressures that we're noticing that advisors have is to compete with emerging competitors, one being robo-advisors. I know that there's a lot of advisors that have so many clients that sort of having to turn them away, but, robo-advisors are sort of increasingly becoming competition to financial advisors. There are challenges to provide accurate real-time financial information, to provide, tracking and reporting on global investments, overseas currencies and conversions, which I'll talk to a little bit later. Some of the wrap platforms that I suppose a lot of you use do not do this as well as they should. Further to that, the ability to gain consolidate of client portfolios, including cash accounts, property and unlisted investments, So obviously the wrap platform sort of only report on data that's available within them, but I appreciate they're sort of working on expanding that as well. A couple of the other things is, meeting the changing regulations, associated costs with improving workflows, to deliver valuable insights outside of in-person consultations and customer service. So I'll talk about ways in which advisors can do that, the differentiated service offering through improved customer experience, navigating the social shift in wealth, so the great wealth transfer, which I sort of spoke about before, between boomers and Gen X and Gen Y, and building trusted relationships, which I think most advisors already do really well. So there's sort of the biggest things happening at the moment. The next thing I'll talk about is some of the insights that we're noticing at Sharesight across our extensive user base. So at the moment, we do have 350,000 users across the globe. So we're not just in Australia and New Zealand, we are everywhere in the world. And we do have financial advisors in the likes of the UK, Canada, America, who are actually using our software as well. So it's quite some interesting insights that I'll share with you guys. So starting off with Australia, these are the top 20 trades across our user base in recent times. So as you can sort of see here, there's a bit of a lithium theme at the moment, so core lithium. So that's sort of in light with a lot of the market speculation. You can see Woodside Petroleum. So all the sort of, I guess, the hypes in the market. But one thing that we're noticing is a consistent theme across our user base is ETFs. So, the popular Vanguard ETFs, the beta shares, the NASDAQ 100. So these are the most popular buys across our user base for Australia. So moving on to the US, a lot of the buys that we're sort of noticing in recent times is technology stocks. So the likes of Tesla, Apple, Microsoft. I know that that the NASDAQ has taken, and not just the NASDAQ, but technology in general has really, depreciated in recent times. And there's a lot of concerns about that. But across our users, they seem to be very confident, and they're taking this opportunity to actually buy these technology stocks. And having said that, they're also sort of still buying Vanguard ETFs as well, which is a common theme. In terms of the most popular stocks that are actually held across Sharesight, I've broken this down for New South Wales. I more so wanted to apply it to Australia just because that's sort of most appropriate to you guys. And it's very similar across some of the other states as well. But for New South Wales, as you can sort of see here again, there's just that common theme of Vanguard ETFs being a popular holding. And most of this data, so in terms of giving you a breakdown, approximately, I think it's probably 82% is retail users, and about 18% is financial advisors and accountants and family offices using our software. So most of this data is from our retail users, because obviously they sort of make up the share of the number of portfolios. So for those, they're predominantly sort of using Vanguard ETFs. And then you've sort of got some of the more popular stocks, like Macquarie, BHP, Combank, Telstra as well. So I just thought that it's interesting to see that across our user base, using New South Wales as an example, the ETFs are sort of the most held investments. In terms of the brokers, so how Sharesight works is we're agnostic in that we support every single broker in Australia. So how our software works is the investor or the financial advisor on their behalf goes to a broker of their choosing, and then uses Sharesight as an add-on to that broker for our performance, tax, and data amalgamation purposes. But in terms of the brokers that we're noticing our clientele using, these are the ones here. So, you've got the likes of CMC Markets, CommSec, Self-Wealth, Interactive Brokers, ANZ. Stake is becoming increasingly popular in Australia, and then you've got the traditional ones like Westpac and NAB. And for some of the millennials, Pearler is really gaining in popularity. So these are sort of the most common ones that we're noticing. And also there's a lot of advisors using third-party broking, which is like Bell Direct, Bell Potter, and Desktop Broker as well. So they're not in the top 10 at this stage, but we're seeing increased demand from those as well. So the next thing I'll talk about is technology and investment trends and sort of the impacts that we're seeing. So probably the most, and it's been a common theme throughout this, and you probably heard it in other presentations as well, but it's the rise of exchange traded products. So in 2021, 1.73 million Australians invested in an ETF, and I'm sure Lifespan has had fund managers come and do similar webinars, and we're noticing that across our user base. And for 2022, it's expected that another 275,000 investors will actually use an exchange traded product, most likely being an ETF. We're also seeing the rise in robo advice, which is quite interesting. So I'm just looking at some of my stats here. So a couple of the more popular ones, StockSpot, they've sort of doubled their funds under management recently. They've got 600 million funds under management. Raise Invest is another one who recently hit 1 billion funds under management. You've got Spaceship and Comsec growing as well. And these robo advisors, I won't mention the ones that are looking to partner with us, but they actually do reach out to us as well, looking for a CGT calculator and tax reporting, because that's an element of what we do. So the reason we're sort of getting this data is because we're seeing increased usage of some of our clients using robo advisors, as well as robo advisors reaching out to us looking for a partnership, which we're finding quite interesting as well. And then, here's sort of, I guess, an area that's a bit, some people have positive views, other people have negative views when it comes to cryptos, but I think there's no doubt that there's been a parabolic rise in cryptos and NFTs. NFTs still a bit harder for people to get their head around, so it's probably not as popular in Australia as what it is in other parts of the world. But cryptos are definitely gaining popularity across our user base. So our premium product for self-directed investors, which is the expert plan, approximately 12% of those users actually track a crypto product or investment. So, and that's just growing year on year. So here, so looking at the statistics, so 77% of crypto investors are millennials. And I've got this chart, which I got from BTC Markets, which is an Australian-based broker. And it's actually quite insightful. It talks about what the most popular cryptos are according to their network. So this isn't sort of globally, this is across their user base. So obviously sort of Bitcoin is the most popular one across their user base. Approximately 77% are male, 23% are female. And then it's sort of got the age breakdown as well. So even here in the sort of older demographics, 65 years plus, 60 to 65, we're still seeing a small allocation towards crypto. And we think that will actually grow as ETFs become available for some of the older, I guess, clients. They're a bit more risk adverse, and they sort of, there's a lot of, it's hard to sort of go on an exchange, buy a crypto, then store it in a hot or cold wallet. So we think that's sort of been a barrier to entry, but as soon as those ETFs become readily available, we expect the older demographic to have more exposure to crypto as well. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just sort of saying what the stats are. Moving on. So when it comes to financial advisors and APLs and ASIC and all of that, the top reasons that licensees are not allowing crypto as part of their APL is the main one sort of being it's unregulated by ASIC, not covered by insurance, lack of customer protection. And that's probably because there aren't many, they come into market, but there aren't many custodial products that are insured for crypto. So obviously when that happens, that older baby boomer demographic is expected to take on more crypto. The lack of ratings by research houses, which obviously a lot of advisors rely on. There's a risk element of as well. It is obviously very high risk, especially if you look at the volatility that's been happening in the recent weeks. There are some cryptocurrencies that are down in excess of 50%, which is very high risk, and also the lack of in-house knowledge as well. So I guess with advisors, there hasn't been a lot of training on crypto, but we foresee that would sort of change in the not too distant future. And here's sort of a really interesting one, which I saw on LinkedIn that I thought I'd share as part of this discussion today. So one of the former business development managers at the ASX, Anastasia, we've had her come in and do webinars with us at Sharesight for some of our users as well in the past, has actually left the ASX to work for Digital X, which is I guess a crypto fund predominantly. There's a software element to their business as well. But we sort of see this as an important indicator of a shift in the industry. It's quite a big move for a BDM to leave the ASX to go to a relatively, no disrespect to Digital X, but they're relatively unknown firm. So yeah, we sort of see this as the beginning of more to come. So expect more and more senior people involved in the stock market to actually leave the stock market and go work on crypto projects. So thought I'd share this with you guys. Obviously, some of you may have actually spoken to Anastasia in the past. So I thought that was a really good thing and really insightful. Moving on, I'll talk about the technologies and ecosystems. So for us at Sharesight, we're purely a technology business. So all we do is software. There's no administration element to what we do. There's importance about building out APIs. And one of our focuses is having more and more live integrations. So there's various brokers that we already have live integrations with, and we're looking to sort of build that network out. So for example, we integrate with CMC Markets, Interactive Brokers, and we're seeing demand for advisors having more products that we integrate with. So we're in conversations with like CRM providers to push our data through to them as well. We also integrate with like Macquarie CMA and Xero. So for a lot of technology businesses that provide a product to financial advisor, we're seeing increased usage of APIs. So advisors can incorporate data from clients and accounts, into various different financial planning portals. So for us at Sharesight, we've got an open API. So we're available for product manufacturers to push data into us and to take data out at the same time as well. And for particular financial, we also do have financial advisors that are actually accessing our API to build their own bespoke reporting. So with a lot of the wrap platforms, they provide good reporting, we provide good reporting, but there is that unique use case where some advisors or some licensees even want to create their own reporting, and it's sort of not that easy to get that out, or it's not easy to get someone to pack, or it's not easy to rely on a product manufacturer to do that for you. So they sort of access our API and build it themselves. But we're seeing increased usage of APIs, and that's standard across the industry. The other thing is having a client portal for their clients. So for those advisors that have decided to go off platform, the brokers, they actually provide a client portal, but it's not as insightful. So some of the challenges that the advisors that we're talking to, and the reason they come to us, is their clients sort of have nowhere to access reports. It's very difficult to put tax information together. A lot of brokers don't sort of do the tax reporting. So that's sort of another use case. And probably the last thing I just wanted to talk about, advisors should make sure the prospective tech vendors have a track record of rolling out innovative planning features, ongoing updates and APIs. So as part of our business, we do a monthly release of items that we've sort of worked on. So we're purely a technology business. So some of those other businesses out there, most notably the wrap platforms, I know they sort of disguise themselves as being technology businesses, but a lot of what they do is still manual administration. If you sort of go on Seek and type in one of their names, you see that they're still actively hiring administrators to do a lot of work behind the scenes. And we think that's a risk to advisors. Whereas if you look at businesses like us or, other software as a service businesses, we're hiring software developers to actually build out our technology. So we think it's important for advisors to look behind the scenes of some of the platforms that they're using and work out, are they actually building out their technology, or are they just hiring staff to manually do it behind the scenes and disguise themselves as a technology business? So we think that's an important consideration that advisors have to be mindful of. And as well as that, I think it's important for advisors to have access to some sort of product that integrates with various providers. So making sure whichever platform you use, that they integrate with like a CRM, that they integrate with brokers, for example, that they can pull in unlisted investment data for clients that have that. That's definitely something for advisors to be mindful of, and definitely just expanding their knowledge of an API. So what an API is, for those that don't know, basically it allows you to pull data. So it's like an application interface that has various pieces of information. And the main reason it's sort of accessed on our end is either for bespoke reporting or pulling out data from our platform and putting it to someone else, like a CRM, for example. The other thing I was going to talk about is the shift of advisors moving away from the administration platform. So, the biggest question I ask you all today, why are advisors moving away from administration platforms who call themselves wrap platforms? And the main reason is cost. There's a significant cost difference. There's an element of service as well. So I've put this, not me, but our business has put this comparison together. So these are 3 of the most popular wrap platforms here in Australia. If you sort of look at the the percentage, you might be able to work out who they are. And that's sort of what they charge on a portfolio of $1.5 million. So, one's still a bit of a difference between the two of them. So with Sharesight Pro, we're non-custodial in that we don't sort of manage the underlying investments. They're held directly with a broker, and then we sort of work as an add-on. So quite a bit of difference for advisors that are looking to go off platform, not just with us. There's obviously other providers out there that provide non-custodial solutions, but for an advisor using us that's part of the Lifespan network, there's a bit of a discount, $100 per annum per client, whereas if you're not part of Lifespan, it's roughly 144, and then it sort of gets cheaper if you have more clients. But the main reason that advisors are looking to sort of go off platform is to reduce costs for their clients. Also, their clients are becoming more conscious of cost, especially as investment returns aren't as lucrative as what they've been in the past. When someone's sort of making 20 or 30% on a $1.5 million balance, they're not really going to care if they're paying $4,000 in admin fees. But as those returns start to go negative, I think investors are a little bit more conscious about paying $4,000 to a platform just to do the administration when it doesn't even need to be done. This is a comparison that we've put together, which is quite insightful. Some of the other reasons advisors are looking to leave the wrap platforms is decreased service levels. Some of the reporting is actually inaccurate. I know that a lot of them sort of actually integrate with providers like BGL, for example, especially in the SMSF space, just to get the auditing. I'll get back one. To get the auditing of the SMSF and just to make sure that the data integrity is actually right. So that's sort of the other reason. And also, if you go off platform, there's improved investment choices as well. So obviously, you'd have to work within the refinements of your APL, but using someone like us, we've got access to 40 global markets. We support obviously all the managed funds and mutual funds here in Australia, plus M funds. And also there's functionality within our software to sort of do unlisted investments. So putting us aside, there's still restrictions within most wrap platforms in terms of where you can invest. So for those wanting greater exposure, they're sort of moving away and finding other ways to do it. So I put another slide together. So this is sort of the cost saving and margins to be had by switching to Sharesight and moving away from a wrap platform. And even if you're not using Sharesight and someone else, if you do take your clients off platform, I guess it'd still be a similar saving that applies. So as you can see here, the margin lost to platform fees. So based on fixed fee of $5,000 charged for a $1.5 million client. So you can sort of see that as a percentage term as to how much is lost. And then on the right here, the cost saving per client over 10 years compared to a platform. So obviously investment returns are an important consideration, but one other thing to consider is having a high administration fee does take away from the client's retirement or from their savings, or not saving, but from their investments over the longer term. So just sort of something to be mindful of if you are looking to reduce costs for your client. Moving on, I've put an example here of unbundling an SMSF and how that can sort of save. So it's got all the cost here that roughly that a wrap platform would sort of charge for an SMSF, the accounting costs. So, if you're using someone like Sharesight, it's a little bit cheaper because we sort of do all the tax reporting. There's a low cost broker for us as well. So it works out to be almost, roughly about half the price. So if you were to unbundle an SMSF, go directly with a broker, use Sharesight. So this is sort of another example for those of you that do provide SMSF recommendations. So at the moment, it's roughly 25% of advised clients that are off platform, and we expect that number to continue to grow. And here's just another graph for a 500K portfolio with the example of what the cost saving would be. Moving on, I'm just going to share an advisor case study with you guys. So this is an advisor that's been off platform for a little while called EGU. I'll quickly close my presentation for a second and I'll share my screen with them just to provide a bit more info. So this is, we sort of publish case studies for a number of our clients as well. So with this particular firm, so they've got two financial advisors using us, both called Ben, EGU, up in Brisbane. So I'll just talk a little bit as to how they're using Sharesight as part of their business. So in terms of themselves, this is sort of a little bit about them. So they're a self-licensed financial planning firm, and they've got a lot of SMSFs that they manage, and about 50% would either be just pre or in retirement, which is similar, I guess, demographic to most of advisors. So that's, and they've also got a strong influence to overseas investments, which makes it easier to use Sharesight as well, just because we do support those markets. In terms of how they're using us, so they use Sharesight every day to review investment client portfolios. As I sort of touched on before, the brokers sort of only do provide limited information. So they actually create a portfolio in our software and then share it with their clients. And then they create consolidated groups, which is under the firm's name, and have every client's portfolio to that. This way they can see any point in time the funds under management of their firm, which I think is sort of a requirement. In terms of their clients, a lot of them use the Saxo Markets integration. The reports that they sort of run are diversity reports, which is an asset allocation report, performance reporting, and the contribution analysis report. The integrations that they use is with the Macquarie CMA. So we integrate with both Xero and Macquarie CMA to provide a complete off-platform solution. But doesn't mean you have to use that, but I guess it's important for any advisor that is off-platform or considering going off-platform to have some sort of cash account integration. In terms of the AFSL requirements, they're using the consolidated view to put all that information together. So when the insurer, for example, asks how much have you got in ETFs, they can say 62% as an example. And which feature do they find the most useful? The diversity report, which I'll talk about a little bit more today. But as you can see, this is sort of an example of an advisor that has gone off platform. Most of their clients are international equities exposure. They're using ETFs, and they're sort of meeting us or using us for a login portal for their clients, our integrations, and also for their AFSL requirements. So that's how they're using us. So I'll go back to my slide, and I'll do a bit of an introduction into Sharesight Pro and how that works. So I'll just start this slideshow again. Well, actually, got a bit behind there. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So introduction to Sharesight Pro, so which is our product for financial advisors. So Sharesight Pro is, as I sort of touched on before, a non-custodial solution for financial advisors. So we track, I think we do 40 global exchanges now, so I'll have to update this slide, plus managed funds and M funds. And there's also functionality to do unlisted investments such as property, fixed interest, you can add fixed interest in there, private equity, as well as cryptocurrencies. So we get automatic updates directly. So we have various data providers such as the ASX, Chi-X, Morningstar, which give us all of this information. So for the ASX, we get 20-minute prices. We get currency effects, which are updated on a daily basis. We automatically capture dividend information. If clients have like a DRP, that can be turned on and off within our software. And also there's functionality to manage corporate actions, which is also a key piece. So we've got an open API, which allows financial advisors to, push data into Sharesight or pull data out. And that's how we sort of work with a lot of our API partners as well. So in terms of our reporting capabilities, those are all of our reports there that you can see on the screen. We do performance reporting, multi-period reporting, diversity, and contribution analysis. So the performance reporting, it basically shows open and closed positions. So with the broker, you'll only see open positions. So it gives a dollar weighted return for any date range of your choosing. And all of our reports are white labeled, so you can add the logo to that as well. Multi-period reporting, which is self-explanatory, diversity, which is sort of the asset allocation. We also do tax reporting as well. So we automatically get the data feeds from a lot of the ETF providers. And so we do the taxable income, the historical cost, the capital gains tax, and unrealized CGT. And you can sort of see on the screen there some of the details that we provide. So for the ATO, we have all the format that someone would need. And our reports can be generated at any date. So with a lot of the wrap platforms in particular, you have to wait a certain day for those reports to become available. Whereas with us, you can go in there, you can type in the date range, which you can sort of see the period in the top there, and generate the report instantly. And then they're all available in Excel, PDF, or Google Drive. And then I touched on before, our reports are co-branded. So you can add your logo to any of our reports. Multi-period reporting, which is sort of important as well. So I appreciate that the wrap platforms do this as well. We obviously do it, but if you do have someone off platform or you're considering going off platform, it is hard to get this information from the brokers. So this is another reporting tool that we have here at Sharesight. So that's something to have a look at. I touched on our integrations a little bit earlier. So we integrate with Xero, which has been a long-term partner of ours. And we also integrate with Macquarie CMA, which is very popular for financial advisors. So Macquarie CMA is obviously free to use, and most of you would be familiar with that. Xero does have a monthly subscription fee, but the fact that they can actually get balances from a lot of brokerage accounts, we're seeing increased usage of Xero across financial advisors. So yeah, something to, not saying that you don't have to use Sharesight to use Xero, but yeah, if you're looking to sort of get data feeds for brokers, have a chat to Xero. So we're not sort of affiliated with them. We're a partner, or we've got a long-standing partnership, but there's nothing in place. But yeah, definitely have a look if you need that sort of information. Sort of the main benefits of Sharesight are cost and time savings. So we're a cloud-based software. So it's a monthly subscription. So you pay month by month, or you can sort of subsidize the cost and let your clients pay. So it's a month by month subscription based on the number of clients that you have, and it's accessible anywhere. You can share portfolios with your clients, which is what most advisors do. So they can give access to staff members as well. If they want to share access with a client, they can give them read only or read and write or admin access. And then I touched on it before. It's a monthly subscription model, no fund under management, custodian fees, hidden fees, or any hidden costs. So we've got the exclusive arrangement with Lifespan where it's $100 per annum per portfolio. So that's a discount that applies to Lifespan. So yeah, so that's sort of the maximum a financial advisor would pay. And the other thing that has come to the market recently is the 2020 government budget boost for business. So there's 120% deduction on any Sharesight subscription purchase between 29 March to 30 June 2023 for businesses with less than 50 million in annual turnover. So because we are a software business, Sharesight may actually be tax deductible to yourself if you do purchase it on behalf of your clients. So I thought would share that as well. But that's pretty much Sharesight in a nutshell. I think we went a little bit quicker than what I was expecting. So we do have a 30-day free trial of our software. So you can go to sharesight.com/advisors and sign up for that and use it at your own convenience. Or if you do have any questions, you can contact me, chris@sharesight.com. But thank you, everyone. And Michael, did we have any questions that anyone had, or any comments from yourself?
We certainly do. So there's one question that needs to be answered from Peter, if we can address that, which is dividend information shown without having to confirm it? Peter previously used Sharesight and it did need him to constantly confirm and validate those dividends, which was obviously very time consuming. Has that changed?
Yeah, no, that process is still in place. So how it sort of works is that, so with Sharesight, we automatically pre-populate dividend and distribution information. So we get that from our data providers, and the system automatically assumes that information is correct. So when there is an option to validate it, so it doesn't sort of pop up and annoy advisors or anything like that. But when you go to the underlying holdings, it sort of comes up with the transactions and saying, do you want to confirm these? So it is an optional field. But yeah, the data is highly accurate. You don't have to go in there, confirm it. So it will still just assume that data is correct unless an advisor goes in there and validates it. But there's a very high degree in our data quality. It's over 99.9% accurate. The only time when there is an issue is sometimes with rounding, and that's sort of to the nearest cent. But how it sort of works for anyone else's interest with Sharesight, when it comes to dividends and distributions, we look at how many holdings or how many units are held as at the X date. And then we sort of get we do that calculation based on the data feed that we get from Morningstar.
Excellent. Another question which has just popped up from Erin, which is exactly the question I was about to ask next, which is, does Sharesight work in conjunction with other software such as Xplan, Midwinter, Advisor Logic, and so forth?
So We don't work with Xplan at the moment, so I guess they sort of view us as a little bit of a competitor. So we're in conversations with various CRM providers. I can't disclose that just because there hasn't been a contract signed at this particular point in time. With Advisor Logic, they're sort of part of Morningstar. We've got a long-standing relationship with Morningstar, so that's an integration we're hoping to have in the not too distant future. There aren't any conversations with Midwinter at this stage. But we are hoping to sort of have that one with Advisor Logic, hopefully not too far away. And then we do have various approaches from other CRM providers, which you didn't mention, Michael, but that is definitely on the cards. Because initially when Sharesight started, it was a DIY investor product, and we sort of built Sharesight Pro based on advisors approaching us. So there wasn't an immediate need for a CRM. But now, as we've sort of organically grown and we've got more advisors using us, it is one of our I guess our key focuses for the future. So yeah, hopefully the one with Advisor Logic comes on board not too soon.
Excellent. Well, myself and other people here at Lifespan might be able to assist you with that. So we'll have to have a conversation about that after this.
Yeah. Yep.
I do encourage anybody else online that has any questions, please jump on either directly yourself or throw a question up through the chat function. Another question has popped up in the Q&A, which is, can data for existing clients be transferred in by Excel to maintain CGT information?
Yeah, it definitely can. That's a very good question. Let me just get out, or actually, maybe I was going to share my screen to this, but let me just see if I can get out of this slide. Yeah, so we do that. So I'll just go to like our help page. So with Sharesight, we can have up to 25 years of historical data for buyers and sellers. So in terms of importing data into Sharesight, I'll just quickly, we've got like an Excel tool. So import your trades. So you can do it directly from a broker. So we've got various brokers that we've built import tools from. So you can sort of come here. I'll actually show you that now. So good opportunity for me to actually go in the software and show you how it works. So you'd go to add a holding. Just go manually add a holding for 1 second. So there's different ways in which you can do it. So if everyone can look at my screen right now, you can do it via a CSV file, which is pretty straightforward, or you can do it from a broker as well. So for all the most popular brokers, you can import the historical trade. So we built tools for all of these ones here. So Bell Potter, Bell Direct, HSBC, ANZ, Comsec. So all of these ones, you can automatically do it. We built it for premium as well, although they're not a broker, just because we've got strong demand from advisors sort of wanting to come to us. So we built a tool to make that easier. So for someone that is looking to go off platform, if they send us a file of the platform they're using, we can look at building a tool to make the transition process easier. But if your broker isn't on here, it still can be done via a CSV file upload. So we've got like a template they can use here, so that you can either do opening balances, or if you want the historical, click on this template here. And basically, if you put the data in this template, you can import it up until 25 years worth for tracking the cost base. So to answer your question, Michael, yes, it can be done.
Excellent. That's going to be of great relief for lots of people. Okay, another question from Andrew. Are copies of the various reports available anywhere?
Yes. So I'll go to our reports now. So these are all the reports that we do. There's obviously a lot of them. So we do like the performance reporting, the diversity, which I touched on, future income, which sort of predicts what the future dividends and distributions are going to be. And then we do all these tax reports as well. So they are available. You can come into reports anytime using our software and download these reports. So I'll use the CGT report as an example. So for some of the platforms, you have to wait for them to generate the report, whereas with us, it's instantly available. So just this portfolio's got a bit of data. My internet's a bit slow, so it's just loading up. So you can come in here. You can actually choose the date range, or if you want to just do current financial year, you can do that, or actually type over it. For our CGT reporting as well, you can actually nominate the sale allocation method. So all the ATO formats come up here, and that sort of does the calculation. There hasn't been any trades for this financial year because it's a demo portfolio, but I'll just update that to last financial year. But there's been a bit of trade, just so you can see some data. Won't be a second, but while I'm waiting for that to load, yeah, you can come in here, download the report in Excel, PDF, or Google Drive anytime, so you don't have to wait. And then if you give your clients access to a portfolio, they can do the same. And then it's got all the tax information here at the bottom. But while I touch on that, probably the most important feature for Sharesight for advisors is they tend to get a lot of questions, and Sharesight stops that from happening. So if you share a portfolio with a client, say, for example, you're an advisor, your client says, how is my portfolio compared in the last 3 months? They can just come in here, click on their portfolio for the last 3 months, and probably with the market the way it is, it wouldn't have been great, to be honest. But if they do want to know that, it just calculates it on screen for them. If they want to compare it to a benchmark, we've sort of got these default benchmarks, but any instrument that we support can be added as a benchmark. So if they want to know how they went against the ASX top 50, they just add that in, and it shows that as well. So all of the data in Sharesight is instantaneous as soon as it becomes available from one of our data providers.
Excellent. We'll need to spend some more time after these questions to get a bit more of a practical demonstration on the portfolio. Another great question from Aaron is, are there any limitations on the number of holdings per client portfolio?
No, there's no limitation on the number of holdings. No, there's only a limitation on the number of trades, and that doesn't really apply to financial advisors, because I don't think you'd have clients. I think it's about 3,000 trades per transaction, but I don't think you'd have someone that's traded CBA 3,000 times. But in terms of the holdings, there's no limitations at all.
Okay, another question from William is access to managed funds via M funds only. What are the disadvantages and advantages? And in terms of MERs, in terms of retail versus wholesale, brokerage rates are higher, manual trades, distribution data, and time to see per transaction. So there's a bit of work there for you.
That's a lot of. Okay, I'm finding that question now. So is access to managed funds via no? So the first part of the question, we support all managed funds. So we have our data feed from Morningstar. So anything that Morningstar has, we have. If it's not a managed fund that they support, it can be added to our software as a custom investment, where you as the advisor or an accountant, I guess on the client's behalf, can manage it. So you can update the unit prices, give it whatever name you like, add the distributions. What are the advantages and disadvantages? I think the advantages is basically any data with Morningstar, you can get that into Sharesight. Probably in terms of the disadvantage, for a lot of, when it comes to listed equities and M funds, we support every single broker in Australia. So you can get that data virtually instantly into Sharesight. Whereas with a managed fund, if it's someone like Vanguard, for example, they don't sort of issue contract notes. So they're one that we're working with to support. But for some of the smaller fund managers, you may have to actually add that data in manually, either via an Excel spreadsheet or going in there and manually adding an investment. In terms of the MERs, our software doesn't sort of calculate that at this stage. So we basically just track the unit price. But in terms of the wholesale brokerage rates, you can, when you actually go to buy, when you add a buy transaction in there, whether it be for like a listed equity or a managed fund, you can actually put the buy costs associated with that. So you can override that, but the MER wouldn't be tracked in Sharesight. And I'm just looking at the other part of the question. So yeah, we do manual trades, distribution data. So yeah, for all of those, would automatically get the distribution data from Morningstar, and time to see a transaction. As soon as you load it in, it's instantaneous. And the dividend or distribution data comes in as soon as it becomes available. And then I got another question from William. Sometimes it takes around 5 or more days for any view of the transaction for a contract note. Not sure. Are you on the line now, William? Could you maybe elaborate that, if you could put yourself off mute? Because anything with a contract note in Sharesight happens within 5 minutes. I won't, I guess, embarrass you. We can talk offline if you want to. But with all the contract notes that we support, we've got a system called optical character recognition. So it's not like a physical person. It's optical character recognition that basically reads the data and loads into Sharesight instantaneously. And it takes no longer than 5 minutes. And hopefully that's answered the question. But my email is chris@sharesight.com if you want to have a chat offline. I think a few more questions that popped through.
Yes, so Another one that's come up in the chat function is, does this integrate with Work Sorted?
No, I'm not familiar with Work Sorted and who they are, but we're open to, we work with advisors to build more API partners. So whoever that person was that asked that question, we can have a conversation to them about working together. So we have like a designated API team that sort of manages those types of relationships. So there's potential that we can integrate with them, but more than happy to have a conversation. So if you've got a contact there, feel free again to email me, chris@sharesight.com, and I can pass that on to our API partnership manager and we can have a conversation with them.
I'll do that. So Stephen, that was your question, and I'll, well, I guess you can say Work Sorted is in a stage of transition because their main BDM key account manager, Jared Gray, has left the business on Friday last week.
Okay.
So until we sort of have clarity around who will take over from him, this might take a little bit longer. But I suggest, given the way that Work Sorted work, there'll be no issue to integrate with pretty much anybody the way that they're structured. So
what exactly are they, Michael? Are they a CRM?
It's basically what you call middle software. So it allows advisors to combine a range of different software solutions into one cohesive CRM for full operational.
Yeah. That's exactly, we want to be a part of that. So yeah, let me know, Michael, when you've got a new contact there, and we'll reach out to them and see ways in which we can collaborate. And I want to reassure everyone here today, we are a software business. We're not an administrator. So we're very keen on API integrations and partnerships in the industry.
Excellent. Another question that's come up is from Aaron. I have a number of clients with very old portfolios where the purchase dates are not correctly in the online brokerage sites. Will this cause issues with upload?
No, it won't, because you can still load opening balances into Sharesight. So it just depends if you want that historical cost base to be accurate. So you can still definitely, provide accurate performance reporting going back a number of years. If it's incorrect with the actual brokerage websites, potentially the share registries may have the most up-to-date information, so that they may have what the actual cost base may have been. So you can still make it work. So what you'd do is you'd upload the data from the broker, and then all of our data in Sharesight can be edited. So then what my suggestion would be to go to the share registries, have a look as to what the initial cost base was, updated in our software, and that way you'd have accurate performance reporting for your clients. So with that particular advisor, if they are interested in using Sharesight, reach out to me, Chris@Sharesight, and happy to work with you on a way to find a solution.
So really, this demonstrates that any non-custodial assets are very easily managed by an advisor through Sharesight.
Correct. That's what we are. We're a non-custodial solution. Yeah. And we're looking at ways where, the wrap platforms are a bit of a competitor to ours, but we're also looking at ways to incorporate that data into our software. And there's no promises that will happen just because they view us as a competitor. But, I guess ultimately our longer term goal is to become a software solution that can both manage on and off platform. So, would have maybe an indirect data feed from a wrap platform, and then you can use groupings to sort of have those, have all those holdings under, say, Hub24, and then anything that they've got off platform. A lot of, investors, they've held like Combank for 20 years that they don't want to put on platform, and then they'd have another section for that in our software. So that's our longer term vision for the product. We're not there yet, but for those that either want to go off platform or that have non-custodial solutions on behalf of their clients, and that's ideally what we're for.
Excellent. Now, we've got advisors that work with platforms, we've got advisors that work with brokers, we've got broker sites, we've got advisors that use all different types of software in the marketplace, from a CRM perspective, from an SOA generation perspective, outsourced to paraplanners, you name it, we've got it. Yep. So the question for you is, what is the view of Sharesight? What is your ideal advisor?
Well, at the moment, look, if you're sort of wanting to track, if you're using a wrap platform, it doesn't make sense to use Sharesight right now, just because we don't have a data feed from them. So I guess we're viewed as a competitor to the wrap platforms, but our ideal financial advisor is someone that's sort of tech savvy, obviously, because we are a software business. There is an element of sort of putting the data into Sharesight and managing that most of it is automated, but there's a little bit of admin work. But ideally, advisors that are off platform, or looking to move away from the platforms. I would say that would be our ideal financial advisor. If you're happy with the wrap platforms, then my advice would be to continue using them. But if you are looking to move away, or if you're unhappy with the service that they provide or the fees that they're charging your clients, then come have a chat to us, and we can collaborate with any broker. So we're agnostic. I know that Self-Wealth, David Hanson just commented on this there on the call. So we work with Self-Wealth as well, and we've got a number of advisors that use us as an add-on to their software, but we're agnostic in that we support contract notes for every broker in Australia. So for the advisors on the call, you can go to any broker of your choosing, and then we will work as an add-on. And then you can use the integration partners that we have to provide a full non-custodial solution for your clients.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that you mentioned earlier on when you were talking about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and so forth, you use the three-letter acronym NTFs.
NFT, non-fungible tokens. You wanted to know what an NFT was?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Well, it's a very controversial, and I don't know if it's considered an investment at this stage in the cycle, but basically it's a non-fungible token. So a lot of it is like I guess they're basically just JPEG images where you own the intellectual property for it. So we don't really have anyone using that as part of our software. We don't track it at this stage. I mean, physically you could create it as a custom investment, name it what you like, and assign it a unit price. But for advisors wanting to learn more about NFTs, my suggestion would be to look into the Ape ecosystem. So that there's a cryptocurrency, the code is Ape, and basically this Ape NFT, it's sort of like a bit of a meme, but they're pictures of apes that have all these different characteristics, and that's sort of the most valuable, I guess, NFT marketplace at the moment. So that they go for a lot of money, and then they've got their own sort of governance token, which is a cryptocurrency called Ape that basically manages their ecosystem and gives those that have an Ape NFT, it gives them the opportunity to work on projects. So I don't think, even for our user base, that's a bit too sophisticated at this stage. But that's, for anyone wanting to learn more about NFTs, I think the starting point would be, and I'm by no means an expert, would be to Google Ape ecosystem, and you'll see some funny stuff there. But these go for so much money, it's not even funny. So I guess maybe they're comparable to art. Some people in SMSFs, they keep art. I guess for millennials now, it's just a JPEG image of an ape.
Things are getting crazy. All right, so what I'd love to do in the time we have available, Chris, is if you could provide me with a live demo. I'm an interested user of Sharesight. I've got my own portfolio I'd like to put up there.
Yep.
I've got a good sort of around 20 or so direct shareholdings, including a couple of ETFs. So show me how I would set myself up and would use it on a daily basis. Yeah,
certainly. Yep, I'll do it within the time that we've got left. I'll do a very quick one. So this is sort of the first thing a client would see, but we've got a dashboard that we've built for advisors. So the first thing an advisor would see when they log into Sharesight is this dashboard, and this has.
If you share the screen for me.
Oh, sorry, it's not. Oh, sorry, I put on. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, sorry about that. That was a bit awkward. Let me just go back into that. Thanks, Michael. All righty, everyone can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So apologies for before. So when an advisor logs into Sharesight, we've built this dashboard, which is the first thing that they would actually see. And this has all of their portfolios, which is effective with clients, and they've got functionality to sort of share a portfolio with a client here, and they can set up staff members and manage their client access, and then create consolidated views as well, which is in that example that I gave, the case study from an advisor. They come here and they create consolidated views. But what that allows you to do is, say you've got a husband and wife, or nowadays maybe even a husband, and they want to sort of combine all their wealth together. You can put their portfolios together and come up with a consolidated view. So these are the functionalities in the dashboard. But getting started with Sharesight, you'd go add a portfolio, and then, you'd give it a name. So we just call it test 1, 2, 3. You choose the tax residency, which would be Australia. So obviously we support a lot of different countries, the financial year, the calculation method, which is just simple. This is the dollar weighted return. You can choose what type of entity it is, whether it's an individual or a self-managed super fund or a company. And then you can also share a portfolio with a client. So once you create this, I just don't have any data to upload into Sharesight at the moment. I wasn't expecting to do this, admittedly, Michael, but once you do that, basically it'll take you to this add a new holding page, and then it gives you the option as to how to put the data into Sharesight. So you can obviously manually do it. You can import it from a broker, which is the easiest way. So for someone that has ETFs, the brokers already have this. So we've built these tools to make it easier. And for some brokers, we've got the live integration like CMC and Saxo Markets, which was another one we mentioned before. I think for most of your advisors, if they are off platform, there's a strong probability that their broker is already here. And we've also got I'll give Self-Wealth a plug because they're on the call. We've also got the tool to make it easier with them. And this basically would allow you to bring in up until 25 years of historical buy and sell data and an accurate cost base, and would automatically pull in all the dividend information. If for any reason your broker's not there, you can just do it via the CSV file upload into Sharesight. So you load all of that data in, and you could do this for managed funds, for example, which is a little bit harder to get the data in, admittedly, or you can manually add them in. And then once all that data is in Sharesight, it looks a little bit like this. So you've got, the portfolio name at the top. You can choose the performance period. So, if you wanted to know what did my client do in the last 2 years, you'd click on that. We've got all these different graphs, which I'm personally colorblind, so graphs don't impress me. But for some of for some people that aren't colorblind, I guess they're impressive. So you've got all these different graphs which your clients will like. Then you can group it however you like as well. So what's I guess unique about us is you can make this page look however you want it to look, and and advisors can create custom groups. But just to provide an example, if you want to just group it by investment type, you can click on that. It'll reconfigure the entire screen by investment type, so exchange traded fund, interest rate securities, managed funds, currency, which is where cryptocurrency comes up. So there's all these different ones, or you can even just create it yourself. You can show open and closed positions, or just open positions. So for everyone's benefit, the brokers only show open positions, and I'm not having a go at the brokers. Their core function is for advisors or clients to transact. Reporting isn't their speciality. That's sort of where we come in. But to get an accurate performance report, you do need the open and closed positions. Then with us, you can do percentage gain returns or monetary gain returns, and that automatically updates on the screen. As I touched on before, you can do benchmarks, and then it sort of has the price. So for the ASX, it's 20-minute pricing. Everything else is end of business. Gives you the value, any gain or loss for the specified date range. So if you change this, it will update the gain or loss. The dividends that have been received for that date range, which we automatically import into Sharesight. Any currency gain or loss if it's international holdings, and then the total return, and it gives you the return here compared to a benchmark. So this is the main screen. In addition to that, most advisors would integrate with the Macquarie CMA as well. That's a high percentage of our users do that, but that's an optional feature. You can do that. You can do zero, or you can manually add a cash account yourself and manage it that way. I'll go back to the overview page. So that's sort of, in terms of getting the data in, that's predominantly how it works. There's also functionality for custom investments. I'm just mindful of time now, so I won't, but you can, if you want to add a investment that's sort of unlisted or property or anything like that, you'd go to add a holding in here, add the custom investment, and then you can sort of set it up, whatever it may be. So this is how you sort of manage custom investments or unlisted investments. One of the key pieces to making Sharesight work, which was a question that came up before. So we support all the brokers in Australia. So the key piece to making this work is using our manual integration with the trade confirmation feature. So how it works, every portfolio has this unique email address. You give this to the broker or to multiple brokers. You can use 10 brokers if you want. You send it to this. It gets sent to Sharesight instantly when there's a trade, a buy or sell. And then our system has optical character recognition, which reads the contract note, and then it updates in Sharesight with the latest trade. So that's how you'd make everything automated and efficient. And then, mindful that we probably only got a minute left, and then advisors sort of come in here. They've got access to all of these different reports, which you can instantly generate. And I gave an example about that before, Michael. And then if you need to make, another important thing to consider is if you need to make changes to a holding, we do have that holding tab where you can basically override the data yourself. So I'll just quickly show you guys how that works. So you can come in here. It tells you what the performance is for that underlying holding. This is where the buys and sells come in. You can manually add a trade. You can edit this and override it. All the income information, Even for, as you can see, for ETFs, it's sort of a cost-based adjustment, which we automatically do in our software as well. But you can come in here and edit any of this data, enter a new dividend. So with a lot of the wrap platforms, you're sort of reliant on them to do it. But with here, you can come in here and physically fix it yourself instead of sending emails. If there's like a DRP, that can be turned on. And there's various other features as well that we can do in our software. But I'm just mindful of time. But for anyone that is interested, reach out to me and I can organize a product demo for you.
Excellent. I certainly encourage everybody who's here to take that opportunity, get a demo, experience the power of this. It's going to be suitable for quite a few people, and certainly some of the clients who want to have a more active role in the management of their investments. This could be the way to do it with them. It's also a good way of outsourcing some of that work back to the client rather than you having to do it yourself. So a number of ways of using this. Continuous choice is what we're offering you, and this is yet another piece of the puzzle that might help you take your business a path or a direction that you want to take it. So, mate, Chris, thank you very much. Lots of interesting information there. We will, Chris, I'm sure we'll follow you up with an email and additional bits and pieces to help you understand how to get the most out of Sharesight. Thank you very much, Chris. Great session.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. All righty. All the best.
All the best to you, mate. Bye.